where you fit anymore. If everything around you feels hollow, transient, and ultimately unreal, then what's the point of continuing to invest in it? Why should you put in the effort, the passion, the striving, if all of it seems like a facade? This sensation that the world is fake may seem like a sign of a mental breakdown or an error in your perception. But what if it's actually the opposite? What if it's a profound spiritual awakening, a signal that you've reached the edge of one layer of understanding and are being called to move deeper into the truth of existence? Perhaps in that moment, you've glimpsed the deeper reality, the realization that the world, as you've known it, is transient. This insight, while jarring, is just the beginning. It shatters the old way of perceiving things, revealing the world as a fleeting illusion, a temporary phase in the greater cycle of existence. But this truth brings with it a paradox. If the world is an illusion, why does it feel so real? Why do its pains and joys feel so intense, so undeniable? If the solution is to escape the illusion, why does trying to break free from it feel like losing yourself entirely? The very experience of desiring to escape suggests that we are not as disconnected from this reality as we might think. This is not an invitation to disregard reality. Rather, it's an invitation to understand it in its truest sense. The feeling of falseness you're experiencing isn't proof that this world is unreal. It's a sign that your consciousness is beginning to awaken to a deeper level of truth. When we begin to see beyond the surface of things, we confront a spiritual paradox. Reality dissolves, but not in the way we expect. It doesn't feel like an enlightening revelation. Instead, it feels more like a quiet, unsettling terror. This moment, known to spiritual seekers as the dark night of the soul, isn't about despair, but about perception letting go of its former certainty. We spend our lives trying to find meaning in the world, in relationships, in work, in personal identity. These anchors help us feel grounded, real. But then something shifts. Suddenly, we see that these anchors, our jobs, our relationships, our sense of self, are not tied to anything eternal. They are simply temporary stories we've agreed to tell ourselves. This truth can be unsettling, as it means the foundation we've built our lives upon is made of impermanent elements, subject to change. Psychologically, this feeling is known as derealization or depersonalization. It's the sensation that the world around you feels dreamlike, as if you're disconnected from reality, as if you're watching life from a distance. From a neurological perspective, this experience may arise when the brain's predictive processing breaks down. Our brain is constantly attempting to simulate and predict reality, creating a stable sense of the world. But when this system falters, due to stress, trauma, or moments of deep introspection, the stable illusion of reality collapses, and the underlying mechanics of the illusion become visible. From a spiritual perspective, this moment can be understood as seeing beyond the illusion of the material world. The ancient teachings remind us that the true nature of existence is often hidden beneath layers of appearance. The problem isn't that the world is an illusion. Rather, the issue arises when we mistake these appearances for the ultimate reality itself. However, the path to perceiving the deeper reality is rarely straightforward. Initially, this truth can feel deeply unsettling, even disheartening. When the solidity of life falls away, meaning often seems to dissolve along with it. You've freed yourself from the grip of attachment, but in doing so, you are left feeling unanchored, as if floating in an empty space. Achievements, joys, sorrows, everything that once seemed so significant suddenly feels weightless, as if it's lost its meaning. Why does this awakening often begin with such discomfort and confusion? It's because the mind is collapsing under the weight of its own illusions before true awareness has a chance to re-emerge. At this stage, you realize that the world is not what you thought it was, but you haven't yet remembered the deeper, truer perspective, the one that is watching it all unfold. The feeling that the world is fake is not a malfunction or a mistake. It is the universe gently guiding your focus inward, toward the quiet and steady light of your own consciousness. At its core, this sensation of the world being unreal is a crisis of memory. It's a sign that your awareness has forgotten its true nature. The personal identity that you've constructed is a story built by your thoughts and memories, a narrative you've created moment by moment. This that you identify with seems separate from the world around you, but it is simply a construct, a temporary sense of self. When this illusion of separateness begins to fall apart, it forces you to confront a much deeper reality, your true nature, which is vast, boundless, and eternal, far beyond the temporary stories of the ego. This moment is the moment of forgetting. Just as the brain creates a simulated reality based on past experiences, your identity is built on memories and perceptions that are constantly reshaped. The true essence of who you are lies beyond these fleeting constructs. The solidity of the self, the I that feels separate and distinct, is not the ultimate reality. It is a temporary form that will dissolve. The deeper truth, the one that transcends all the illusions of the ego, has always been there, waiting for you to remember it. Our minds are not passive receivers of reality. They are active creators, constantly shaping and simulating the world around us. The predictive nature of our brains is highly efficient, yet most of what we perceive is not the result of direct observation but of preformed predictions based on past experiences. The sense of solidity we attach to reality, therefore, is a byproduct of the mind's ongoing commitment to maintaining a consistent view of the world. When we experience moments of derealization, it's as if the engine of our mental simulation falters, briefly revealing the underlying structure of the illusion. Philosophers throughout history have wrestled with this issue. In ancient wisdom, it is said that we are often deceived by the appearances of the world. The great allegory of the shadows on the cave wall illustrates this perfectly, where the prisoners mistake the shadows for reality itself. In some Eastern philosophies, the forgetting of one's true self is considered the root of all suffering. The realization that one's true nature is not the body or the mind, but the infinite consciousness itself, is a liberating awakening. However, this awakening only occurs once the individual realizes that they are the ones sitting by the fire, capable of turning and seeing beyond the illusion. The paradox here is striking. The more we try to grasp meaning, the more elusive it becomes. Trying to hold on to something that is inherently fluid is like attempting to grasp water with an open hand. It slips away. When our awareness becomes fixated on the objects of its own creation, the world, the self, the stories, it loses its true essence, which is boundless. When awareness forgets that it is the dreamer, the world of illusions becomes frighteningly real. The illusion hardens into what feels like an unchangeable destiny, a prison of fate. Yet, this isn't a moment of despair, but a moment of profound clarity. The feeling of alienation is not a failure, but a cosmic signal, a spiritual amnesia of sorts. It's a reminder that we have forgotten our true nature as the awareness behind the illusion. But what happens when we mistake this realization for emptiness? For many, the initial clarity of seeing through the illusion leads to a disillusionment that spirals into nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that nothing matters, that life is ultimately meaningless. It's the stage where, after seeing the falseness of the structures we've built, our careers, identities, and social roles, we feel that nothing has any value. The emotional consequence of this realization is often a loss of purpose and direction. If the game is a lie, why continue to play? This thought is alluring. It offers a way to detach from the world and its troubles, to hide behind the intellectual comfort of cynicism. The ego enjoys this phase of awakening, whispering, "If nothing is real, then nothing matters. My suffering, my joy, my actions, all are meaningless." This leads to withdrawal from life, replacing participation with passive analysis. However, this is not true liberation. It is a refusal to engage, a rejection of the very life we are called to experience. Here lies the crucial distinction. Spiritual awakening shows us that the world is not permanent, but nihilism concludes that the world is without value. These are not the same thing. The deeper truth that lies behind nihilism is that it represents awareness mourning its own forgetfulness. It's the cosmic grief that arises when we realize we are the creators of our experience, but have forgotten how to access our creative power. We mistake the absence of permanence for the absence of meaning. The illusion itself has not turned against us. Rather, we have turned against the illusion by rejecting it as fake. We have rejected the very platform that allows us to express ourselves, to experience the richness of existence. But what if the purpose of this illusion is not deception, but expression? What if the reason you feel a deep sense of purpose is precisely because of the illusion itself? The ache for meaning that nihilism tries to suppress is the true signal. The world is not meaningless. It only appears so when we forget that we are here to invest our love and attention into it. The illusion is not a barrier, but a vessel, a divine tool for the expression of consciousness. We must ask ourselves, if everything is an illusion, what is left to care about? The answer lies in realizing that the illusion itself is care. It is the divine form in which the infinite expresses itself. The true realization comes when we recognize that this world, in all its impermanence, is not a trap but a sacred space for consciousness to experience itself. It is the cosmic play, the Leela of existence, where consciousness creates the appearance of duality in order to experience itself fully. If the source of all creation is one unified consciousness, the question then arises, why manifest a world filled with limits, suffering, and joy? The answer given in ancient teachings is simple yet profound. To play, to experience itself through its own expressions. For infinite awareness to know itself as light, it must create the appearance of darkness. To experience freedom, it must create the appearance of limitation. The world of form, the illusion, is simply the costume worn by the infinite, allowing it to play a game of hide and seek with itself. The essential twist is that the creator plays the game perfectly by forgetting. The creator hides so well that even it forgets its true nature. If the creator knew exactly where it was hiding, the game would be over in an instant. It is this forgetting that allows for rediscovery, the sweet shock of recognition. This is not just mythological poetry. It resonates with modern scientific ideas like the observer effect in quantum mechanics, which suggests that our conscious presence shapes the reality we perceive. Just like in a dream, when you are fully immersed, you forget that you are the dreamer. The rules of the dream seem solid, unchangeable, until you wake up. However, the deeper insight here is this. We are not being asked to wake up from the dream. We are not asked to escape this world, but to awaken within it. Creation is not hiding truth from us. It is revealing it through us, through the trees, the sorrow, and even the gentle warmth of your morning coffee. That eerie feeling that the world is somehow fake is simply the moment when the soul whispers, "Wait, this isn't all there is." It's not a glitch. It's the first spark of remembrance. This realization shouldn't distance you from life. It should draw you closer. For the divine isn't cruel or indifferent. It is infinitely curious and compassionate. It chose to experience the beauty, the pain, and the magnificence of existence through the sacred lens of your life. The world isn't an enemy to be defeated, but a mystery to be met with. What if the whole design, all the fleeting joys and fragile sorrows, existed only to make the moment of remembering possible? Then to live consciously within this divine play means not escaping the illusion of form, but seeing through it. The transformation comes when you understand that the illusion was never the problem. The struggle to escape it was. Once you realize that creation is the divine expressing itself in endless forms, you stop resisting the dream and start participating in it consciously. The purpose isn't to rise to a distant higher realm, but to bring the awareness of that higher realm into this one, into the sacred now. This is where true presence becomes worship, where every breath becomes participation in a divine conversation. You return to the world not as someone desperate for meaning, but as the one who gives it. Living with this awareness means exchanging the restless, analytical mind for a quiet, playful heart. You still face work, relationships, and struggles, but their weight changes. You honor them as temporary forms, without believing they define your eternal essence. You care deeply for people, not because they last forever in body, but because you see the eternal spark of God's light behind their eyes. The paradox remains, the world looks exactly as it did before. The fake smiles, the scripted conversations, the shallow exchanges, all still exist. Yet your perception is transformed. The world only felt fake when you demanded it be absolutely real. When you allow it to be what it is, a magnificent, temporary display of divine artistry, it regains its beauty. This is the ultimate surrender. You don't run from the illusion. You release the need for it to be more than it was meant to be. You stop asking it to be eternal and allow it to be alive. You become both the actor and the audience, both the dreamer and the dream, and peace arrives not through escape, but through embrace. The world felt unreal only until you stopped running from it and recognized it as a mirror of yourself, a reflection of divine consciousness. The light within you recognizes the light outside you, even when that light wears the mask of pain or impermanence. Illusion and truth were never enemies. They were two expressions of the same sacred reality. The next mystery isn't about fleeing. It's about asking, now that I remember I am awareness itself, what beautiful, fleeting thing will I create and love next? You haven't lost reality, you've rediscovered its depth. That strange suspicion that life had become plastic was never insanity. It was evolution. It was the quiet moment when your consciousness grew bright enough to perceive the transparency of the world it shaped. It was the first uncomfortable step of remembering. The world still stands with all its contradictions and beauty, but the pressure is gone. The need to make the temporary eternal has dissolved. And in that dissolving, the world feels alive again. The fake feeling vanishes the moment you see that illusion was never deception. It was divine expression. It was God's light shining through the fragile mask of matter. The pain of the dark night was simply the ache of awareness mourning its own forgetfulness. The peace that follows is the relief of remembrance, the knowing that you are never separate from the source. You cannot escape this world because it was never a prison. It was always a classroom, a mirror meant to be seen through, understood, and finally loved. We've arrived together at this moment of recognition. The next step is simply to live from it, to let the stillness and wonder of who you truly are guide every choice. The mystery ahead isn't about running from the dream, but about cherishing its sacred impermanence. The question of who is playing this game remains. And in that vast silence, you might already sense the answer. It has always been the divine living and breathing through you. Every sunrise, every shadow, every encounter is God remembering himself through the rhythm of creation. You were never lost in illusion. You were being invited to see that everything, even this fragile world, is made of divine light in motion. There's a quiet, unsettling sensation many of us carry in our hearts these days. A deep, almost imperceptible suspicion that the world has stopped feeling real. It's not just the cynical view of the news or the discomfort with political chaos. It's something deeper, something more existential. It feels as if you're living inside a movie set, where everything you see is artificial. The smiles exchanged with strangers feel rehearsed. The casual conversations about the weather or work seem like lines in a script that you've repeated countless times before. You look around, and everything appears to be made of plastic. The products, the promises, even the emotions you encounter on social media. You begin to wonder if the entire structure of modern life is running on a loop of empty meaning, and you're the only one who has broken free from the trance. You observe your own life unfolding as if you're a character you can't remember how to play. You detach, not from a sense of spiritual superiority, but out of confusion. If everything is so hollow, so fleeting, so ultimately unreal, then what's the point of investing in it? What's the purpose of the struggle, the striving, the passion? This feeling that the world is fake can feel like a sign of personal collapse, a malfunction in your mind. But what if it's actually the opposite? What if it's a profound spiritual signal, a true awakening, just stalled midway? You've glimpsed the truth that this reality is, at its core, transient, an illusion, and that realization is cracking the old ways of seeing. But here lies the paradox. If the world is an illusion, if it's not ultimately true, then why does it feel so painfully real? Why can it still wound you, inspire you, and demand your attention? If escaping this illusion is the answer, why does the attempt to escape it feel like losing yourself entirely? This is not an invitation to dismiss reality. This is an invitation to understand it, to understand that the sensation of falseness isn't evidence of unreality, but rather a sign that your consciousness is on the verge of remembering something far deeper. If you're willing to sit with this paradox, then perhaps we can uncover why we cannot escape the illusion, and why that itself is the most sacred realization of all. When reality begins to dissolve, it doesn't often come as a grand revelation. It feels more like a quiet form of terror, a moment of spiritual disintegration. This is a feeling that spiritual seekers might describe as the dark night of awakening. But in truth, it's simply the moment when perception surrenders its fight for certainty. Throughout our lives, we build meaning around us, a stable job, a solid relationship, an unshakable sense of self. These are the anchors that make the world feel real. But for reasons we might not yet understand, awareness cracks the surface. We catch a glimpse of the truth that these anchors are not fixed to anything eternal. They are just temporary stories we've agreed to tell ourselves. This is a psychological experience well documented in both ancient wisdom and modern science. Psychologists describe this as derealization or depersonalization, where the world begins to feel dreamlike or where you feel disconnected from your own body and emotions. The world becomes a movie set, and you are left as the detached observer. Neuroscience offers a similar explanation. Our brain constantly predicts and simulates reality, creating a stable world from past experiences. But when this model breaks down, whether through intense stress, trauma, or even spiritual insight, the sense of reality falters, and the mechanics of this illusion become visible. From a spiritual perspective, this is akin to seeing beyond the illusion that veils our true nature. Ancient wisdom did not see this as a flaw in the system, but as the very nature of creation. The problem isn't that the world is an illusion, but that we mistake its appearance for the absolute truth. And therein lies the difficulty. Seeing through the illusion often begins with a deep sense of despair. When the solidity of life dissolves, meaning seems to go with it. You break free from attachment, but you're left floating in a void, questioning everything. Why does awakening begin with such profound discomfort? Because the mind collapses before awareness has had a chance to reorient itself. It's the stage where you realize the world is not what you thought it was, but you have yet to remember who is observing it. This feeling of the world being fake may not be a malfunction at all. It may be the universe's way of drawing your attention inward, guiding you to look beyond the unstable projections on the screen and toward the quiet, steady light of the projector itself. The question then becomes, what did we forget that turns this grand cosmic play into a silent prison? At its root, the sensation of the world feeling fake is a crisis of memory. It is the symptom of awareness forgetting its own true nature and mistaking itself for the character in the dream. Our personal identity is a masterful creation, woven moment by moment through the flow of thought and memory. We construct an identity that exists separately from everything else. We anchor this I to a stable, external world, and in doing so, we trade the vast, infinite nature of being for the confines of a personal self. This is the moment of forgetting, the essence of creation and the divine dance. The observer effect in quantum mechanics suggests that our conscious presence shapes reality itself. The dream analogy fits perfectly here. When you are immersed in a dream, you forget entirely that you are the dreamer. The rules of the dream seem absolute until you wake up. But here's the insight: we are not asked to wake up out of the dream. We are asked to become lucid within it. Creation is not hiding the truth from us. It is hiding as us in the trees, the sorrow, and even the simple joy of your morning coffee. The feeling that the world is fake is the dream character realizing, wait a minute, I think I'm dreaming. This realization should not fill you with cold intellectual detachment, but with reverence, awe, and cosmic intimacy. The divine is not cruel. It is curious. It chose to experience the beautiful, painful, magnificent density of existence, and it chose to do so through the unique lens of your life. The illusion doesn't need to be fought. It needs to be met with awe. Perhaps the whole elaborate setup exists simply to make the moment of remembering possible. So, what does it mean to consciously play in a world is an illusion? The final transformation is realizing that the problem was never the illusion itself, but the effort we put into escaping it. Once you understand that the illusion is the divine expression of consciousness, you stop fighting it and begin to participate in it consciously. The goal is not to ascend to a higher reality. It is to bring the awareness of that higher reality into the dense, vibrant moment of your life. This is where presence becomes sacred participation. You return to the world, not as a character desperately seeking meaning, but as the awareness that provides the meaning. Living as awareness means exchanging the tense, analytical mind for a light, playful heart. You engage with your work, relationships, and challenges, but the gravity surrounding them shifts. You honor the temporary forms, the job, the feelings, without believing they define your ultimate nature. It means loving people deeply while knowing that their physical existence is fleeting. Because you recognize the eternal awareness shining through their eyes, you return to the paradox. The world still looks the same, but your relationship with it is transformed. It only felt fake when you struggled to define it as absolutely real. When you allow it to be what it is, a temporary display of light and shadow, it regains its luster. This is the ultimate surrender. You don't escape the illusion. You stop requiring it to be anything other than what it is. You find peace and joy in being both the actor and the audience, the dreamer and the dream. The world felt fake until you stopped running from it and met it as yourself. The light within you recognizes the light outside you, even when that light is disguised as temporary form or pain. Illusion and truth were never separate. They are two sides of the same sacred coin. The next mystery isn't about escaping the dream. It's about cherishing its fleeting, beautiful forms. The question remains, who is playing this game? And in the silence, perhaps you already know the answer.